welcome to my channel. If you are new here, hi, hey, hello, my name is Meg and we do crafty things here. So if you like crafty things, please do consider subscribing. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing and tuning in to another video. So today, I'm gonna crack these knuckles, get these phalanges all warmed up because I am here for redemption. You heard it. I am here to race the clock again on a Tri-Toned Alpha. If you don't know what happened last time, I'll fill you in. You can click, I think it's over here for the card of that whole fiasco. Basically, I did a Tri-Toned Alpha in this series where we try to make it as fast as we can. I guess the time and kind of compete against myself and the clock to see how long it takes to make. Everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. You guys thought it was hilarious. I had a breakdown and sobbed. So this time round, we're going for another Tri-Toned Alpha to try and keep it similar in nature, comparable, similar string numbers as well. But this time I'm thinking 2.5 hours. That is my guess this time around. And today I'm going to be using this cool lightning bolt pattern, which is 66612 off of Bracelet Book. And I mean, I guess there is no time like the present. Let's just jump into this and see how it goes. And let me tell you, I was so excited, but also so nervous because I was like, what if it actually ends up being like the same as last time? Again, I started this challenge on a day that just wasn't a great mental day. Like last time, I started the Tri-Toned Alpha, I started it when I had found out my insurance had like lost my car in that whole fiasco. That's like a done story time I don't want to revisit. But like there's just the end of 2020, start of 2021 just has handed me like just my butt. Like honestly, it has just knocked me on my butt. Just so much going on, just a lot happening. So not in a good mental state to start this, and there were a few similar things that happened to that last video. But this time you will notice one thing, friends. If you watch that video, you'll know that in that like first 2 rows, I did something ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But you'll see here, I did not repeat that stupid move I did last time, which was last time, for whatever insane reason, I was like, yes, Megan, let's do a flat alpha color change. You've like only got it to work one time. Let's just do a speed round of it. And this time I was like, no, friend. I want this to be more accurate to like my normal knotting. So we're doing a regular, you heard it, regular alpha change. And I'm not doing straight edges because I don't do straight edges very often either. So this will be, I feel like, more true to like my time. Obviously, it's a little bit faster because in this series, if you're not familiar with it, I literally just try to knot it like pretty much as fast as I can. And I'm not too concerned about keeping it like super even and straight and nice and pretty. So I'm not spending all the time adjusting like I normally would. So yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Let's keep going until we hit the next roadblock. Now, friends, as you know, it's just not how long does it take to make if there aren't issues. Like, that's just the nature of the game. And to start, my first issue was actually the cats again. Not surprising. What was surprising was they were there before I even started knotting. Like, they just sat there at my feet waiting for me to start. So I fed them treats away from me and convinced them to go elsewhere, and they just kind of forgot about me, I think, and didn't come back. So I lucked out that I don't have any knotting or stripping of my strings like in that previous video because the cats, what I did do, however, is make a mistake here. So we're coming up on the end of the second row, I think it is. We're at about 6.5 minutes and I've made my first mistake, which hopefully is not indicative of what the rest of this pattern is going to bring. And I'm kind of kicking myself now for choosing a pattern that has color changes like right on the edge. I don't know why I opted for that. Like, why do I do this to myself? Like, it's not hard. It's just awkward and like weird, and I don't know. I don't know why I did this to myself. I do these things to myself all the time. All the time. Okay, so there are some good things that happen here. Unlike last time, definitely got into much more of like a flow and a rhythm with knotting this pattern than I feel like I ever got into with the cherries. I do really love how the cherry pattern turned out. So that's not to say it's a bad pattern. It was just obviously when you're knotting quickly, you're trying to like spend time processing things as quick as possible, so you make some mistakes. I found I made less mistakes in this bracelet, and there was just a lot less going on than there was last time. So that's great. And I was really wary about these colors when I first picked them out, but I'm loving how this is turning out. Now, okay, I have stopped the clock here, paused it for a moment. I was going to stop it at 25 minutes and then got carried away, didn't realize, and I was like, oh crap, it's already 26 minutes. Let's pause it and check up on where we're at. Quite honestly, where we're at right now, I'm quite happy with this. There's not a lot to really check up on. At this point in the cherries bracelet, I was readjusting my guess, if I remember correctly. And this time I'm sticking by it. I'm still saying it's going to be like 2.5 hours to get this done. And the cherry bracelet was actually 2 strings less and took 3 hours. Took longer than that. So I still think we're going to do this in about the same time. Everything's looking nice. I haven't really had any problems with this pattern. So far, it's just been pretty easy sailing, honestly. Okay, so here we are at the half-hour mark, and I've got 10.5 rows done. So I'm thinking like the cherry bracelet was 3 hours. This is 10.5 rows. The actual pattern is 54 rows long. I think if I keep in a good groove, it's still gonna be that 2.5 hour mark. Cause like 11 rows would be roughly a fifth of the 54 rows that makes up this pattern. So I think that makes sense. It would be like 2.5 hours. I think that makes sense. So I'm keeping it at 2.5 hours. We can take a little look at the bottom here if you guys want. Everything's looking good there. The top is looking good. I'm actually loving, I'm not sure how well the camera's picking it up, but this dark color actually isn't black. It's like a dark navy blue, and I think it actually looks really, really good with this yellow and this like teal color. I'm really happy with how this is turning out right now. So fingers crossed it stays that way. Okay, so if you're familiar with these, you know kind of working fast generally come the end, these bracelets are maybe a little wobbly on the edges, or a little more wobbly than they would normally be. And we're kind of at the point now where we see the first signs of this in this bracelet for this round. And I don't know that it's super easy to see on the screen. Maybe it's just me because I've seen the bracelet up close and I've examined it and it's my work. But we are starting to see a tad bit of like bowing on the right hand side, where I don't know if I just pulled a knot extra tight or what I did so differently on that right hand side. I do start to get just that side of the bracelet starts to creep up just the tiniest bit, and I kind of keep bringing it back down. But we do see that kind of happen throughout this bracelet, and I know like it's so small that you might not have even noticed and be like, what the heck are you talking about? but it is something that I started to notice at this point in the bracelet. And we're just over 45 minutes in, which also means that shortly we are going to see something that happened in the last video as well, which is that I don't know if you're paying attention to the time at the top of the phone there when it was in the screen, but it was like 1 or 2 in the morning. So I just got too tired and had to work the next day. So I had to call it a night and come back to it later, which obviously disrupts the flow. So we do have that in common with the last video as well. In fact, we have more opportunities for disrupted flow throughout the duration of this bracelet. Okay, so I actually think this shot kind of exhibits that bowing a little better. If you look, especially when I have it like right flat down on the table, you can see the left-hand side as well as the right-hand side are actually starting to bow at this point. And it's kind of creating, the lines are more of a smile shape than like a straight line. And that is something I kind of struggled with throughout this pattern. And I'm not sure, well, I expect it's because I was like not yet at this point, but I feel like it was change intentions, because this day in particular, I remember not being in a good mental space, like not feeling very hyped about it, just not very motivated, and trying to like push myself to do it. And I feel like that's obviously not great. So I think there was some big fluctuations in my tension, which we also see because I come back to this over like 3 different days. So at this point, I called it quits for day 1 and came back to it on a completely different day here, picking up at the exact same time, 1 hour and 20 seconds. And I was prepared to jump in. It took me a little while to figure out where in the pattern I was, but once I had done that, it was right back into it. And I remember thinking on this second day, like I felt a little more motivated, a little more like hyped about it. I was also editing the Spider-Man keychain video, so I felt like I was being super productive because I had that going, and like I was recording this, and I felt like I was on top of things. So this day I just felt mentally a lot better, so I found it was easier to get in and get knotting quick. Whereas that first day, I felt like it took some time to kind of find my rhythm and flow. I feel like I picked it up pretty quick this day. But like I said, this was not the only time I interrupted the flow. And if you guys remember when I talked about how to knot fastly in my tips and tricks for knotting faster video, trying to do it all in one sitting so that flow isn't disrupted is generally best practice for getting something knotted quickly. So obviously, I think in the long run, I may have been able to shave some time off had I been able to do it all in one sitting, but ultimately I still think I did pretty good in the end. And like I said before, we're back yet again on yet another day, which I think is just crazy. I was definitely, this day I feel like I was feeling pretty good too. Honestly, it was just that first day I was really not feeling it. I was just really not in a good headspace, but I was like, you know what? That kind of compares to the Cherry Alpha bracelet, and we're trying to make this fair, so I feel like it's okay to start that day. So I pushed myself to anyways. But today, this third day, I feel like I was kind of taking my time a little bit more. Like still knotting quickly, but I feel like not as quick as that second day. Which was unfortunate because I really only got like 10, 11 minutes in of tying. So, yeah, that's about all I have to say there. Let's fast forward through some more of this footage. Okay, so we've hit the 2 hours and 3 minute mark. And at this point, we are actually done the formal pattern, but it looks really short. And I want this video to be comparable. So I'm actually going to dive into my tin here and find that cherry bracelet and compare it. So yes, there's definitely a good, like at least an inch here of space. So I think I'm actually going to repeat a section of lightning bolts to make this like a fair comparison, because this is really, it's really about redemption, because the time on that cherry bracelet bugged me. I felt like it should have been much quicker, but everything was just not going my way. So if you're curious for the actual pattern, it took 54 rows, took me 2 hours, 3 minutes and 21 seconds. But I do want to make it comparable to that cherry alpha. So I am going to do, I think, another like half set of these lightning bolts to make it an even more fair comparison. We are seeing kind of more of those bumps, and that bowing is still there. Unfortunately, once it starts, if you're not really careful, it's hard to control. And obviously you can get it back if you're taking your time and really paying attention to your tension, but that's not the name of this game, friends. No, we are just aiming for fast. Okay, fast. That's it. So let's jump back in and see where we are in a few rows. Okay, and at this point we actually are coming up on one of the few mistakes that happened during the knotting of this video, and it was probably honestly one of the, it's like the biggest mistake that I think made in a how long does it take to make. Maybe not. I think I screwed up a whole cherry on the last one. But if you could see the lightning bolts that are on the edges, which we would be doing because we just had one in the center, there should have been a yellow knot like right on the edge there, and I completely skipped it. Do you know why? Because the top one, I'm starting to do the center lightning bolt instead of an edge lightning bolt. And I get a few knots into this before I actually notice what I'm doing, because at this point I'm just reading off like the bracelet. I'm not actually reading from the pattern. I'm reading off of what I've already done. And so I've already done all these knots, and I'm just realizing what the heck's going on. But of course, this is how long does it take to make, so the clock don't stop when you gotta undo these knots. You gotta face the music, your mistakes. So here we go. I have to undo a bunch of knots, and I've got really short fingernails on this time, so it's gonna take a little bit. And I always undo my knots with my fingernails unless I have like really obnoxiously long fingernails on and it's just difficult, then I always do it by hand. So I'm shooting myself right now because I was so close to the end, and I was like, at this point I'm not going to make it for 2.5 hours. There's no way. Undoing knots takes so long, and I did like half of the last row wrong, half of this row already. Like, I was shooting myself in the foot. I was like, how could you make such a colossal mistake in the last tiny section of this bracelet? Like, come on, Megan, you call yourself a bracelet maker? What? That's how I was feeling in this moment. That's still how I'm feeling when I'm watching this. Editing Megan is mad at knotting Megan. Like, that's how I feel right now. I'm like, why? Now, luckily, that yellow knot falls on the same line for the center arrow and that edge arrow. So I don't actually, at that point, I realized I didn't have to go all the way back as far as I thought I did in that row before. So this one I was kind of like, okay, maybe I could still do it. maybe I can still get it in 2.5 hours. At this point, it was definitely like, it wasn't going to be 3 hours. I was like, there's no way it's going to be 3 hours. But I'm starting to entertain the idea that it might be like 2 hours, 45 minutes. And I was like, there's no way. I was like, I felt like the cherries, everything went wrong. It was so slow. There's no way that this could be like the exact same time. I feel like it doesn't take that long to make them. These were, at this point, I was kind of starting to really anxiously look at that clock, but also I'd been nodding for such a long time that was kind of like at the point where my fingers didn't want to go fast anymore. They were like, no, we're tired of that. So I felt like I wasn't moving very fast at this point, and that was also starting to bug me because I was like, come on, not faster. And I couldn't go any faster. Okay, so we've hit 2.5 hours, and I think we may be close to the length of that cherry bracelet. So I'm going to pull it out of my tin again and double check. I think we're going to be close. We might be a couple rows shy. We are very close. We're literally like 2-3 rows shy of the same length. So we've hit 2.5 hours. I think just to make it really, really fair, I'm going to add a couple rows onto our bracelet here to make it as close as possible. But I'm feeling really good about this because I had said 2.5 hours, and we're kind of hitting like right on the mark. These last 2 rows are going to be easy peasy, lemon squeezy, you know? All right, and here we are in our last 2 knots of this bracelet, and folks, I guessed it pretty dead on. That makes me feel really good about this one. We're finishing at 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 31 seconds, falling like right on that 2.5 hour mark. So I'm pretty happy with that. I wasn't too happy with on the bottom row here. You can really see that bowing on the right hand side. We'll take a closer look at the bracelet and that'll make more sense. But as always, I'll do a quick braid on the end of this, start the clock again, so we can all see what it is to finish the bracelet. Obviously, we're still going to be right around this 2.5 hour mark. So there you have it, 2 hours, 31 minutes, 49 seconds. I'm going to undo this because I don't know how I want the ties on this bracelet, but let's take a closer look at it. So all in all, like our lightning bolts didn't get distorted despite having that kind of bowing issue. I do think this looked really cute. This open edge, I think I pinched my teal background string when I first started. Because it's open edge though, I can easily manipulate that. You can really see that bowing here when we get up close on it. And the edges on this aren't the straightest. You can really tell in like this area, it really bumps out. And then on this side, it really indents in, which basically means I would have, my tension on the right-hand side of the bracelet would have been tighter to cause that to happen, which makes sense with what we see at the bottom, which is that right-hand side kind of pulling up more than the left-hand side. That would be indicative of that tension on the right-hand side being tighter. There's a quick glance at the back there. There's nothing really super exciting going on there because it is only like the 3 colors. But I do feel like this was redemption. I feel like this was a fair comparison to the cherry bracelet, tri-toned, even slightly bigger than that bracelet, and we managed to finish it in more than half an hour less than that cherry bracelet. And I think it actually turned out really cute with these colors. I was kind of wanting to do something maybe more girly, so I wasn't sure about them to begin with, but I think it looks really good. So there you have it. I'm really happy with this. 2 hours, 31 minutes, 49 seconds. Right on the mark. So if you like this, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you guys have other patterns you want to see me try and knot fast down below. Like I said, give it a thumbs up, and until next time.